I want you to share this one last story. So the setup is that you were at a legal conference and you're actually there to speak on bias.
Oh, yes.
And the majority of the people there are white lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from there. Welcome to part 2 of Injustice for All with Judge Rupert Byrdsong. This is Loki Mulholland, and it's time to get uncomfortable.
Mind you, this particular legal conference involved the employment bar. So as I said, I had practiced employment discrimination for 20 years before I got on the bench. So I actually had a pretty decent reputation amongst employment lawyers of being, an outstanding attorney. And I had lectured on employment related issues, all over the state, because I was on both the county, local level and the state bar level, involved in those executive committees in the labor and employment section. And so, yeah, you're kind of like a celebrity that here's somebody from our particular bar who's now on the bench. And of course, the benefit to them is we finally have a judge who really understands employment law, and we think we're going to have our cases decided in the most fair fashion. Because employment is a pretty technical practice area, and those who come from the DA's office or the criminal justice system, they may have a little more difficult time understanding all of those issues and the nuances. So I'm going around and everybody's talking to me. Every 5 steps I'd make, somebody, standing by and even waiting their turn and want to speak to Judge Byrdsong. How you doing? And what do you think about this? And it's just a great time. So this was a happy hour that lasted, for several hours, and I'm working that area. The very next day, the very next morning, when I'm supposed to put on my seminar in the exact same area with the same people whom were there the night before, I get this crazy idea. And look, I don't know what gave me this inspiration. It just came out of the blue. I said, let me just see something. So I was there in a suit and tie, but I took off my suit jacket and I put on a maroon hoodie. Had my tie still on, had my dress shoes still on. Everything was the same except for the suit coat's off, and now I have a hoodie. And I put the hoodie on my head. Now, it wasn't a ski mask. Very important fact. It wasn't a ski mask. My face was not camouflaged or otherwise obstructed from anybody's view. I just had the hood on, and I just casually walk back and forth in that area. And what happened was it was actually unbelievable to me because...
No, 1 second. But you still have like your suit pants on and your dress shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure people understand this picture. It's just like it's not like you completely changed your wardrobe into baggy jeans and
pants down, under my butt. No, and tennis shoes. No, suit pants, tie, dress shirt, dress shoes, simply a maroon hoodie on my head. What happened next was unbelievable. So we're talking about people that I spoke to the night before and people I had known, for 20 years as a colleague, as a member of the bar and in particular a member of the employment practice bar. 20 years. I walked by, I looked at them to engage them, to make eye contact. Eye contact would be fleeting, a half second, and their eyes averted. And I didn't stop and say, "Hey man, what's going on?" I didn't do that. I just continued to walk, and the eyes continued to avert. And I went back and forth. I did this for about an hour and a half.
Well, you even went to a booth.
Back and forth. I'm gonna get to the booth in a second. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm glad you remember, Loki. This is a great story. So I go back and forth in this area. Now, mind you, this area was kind of cordoned off from the rest of the hotel. So if you're in this area, everybody in this area is there for the conference, and so the vendors, they have their booths up, selling their wares, selling publications, selling other types of legal services. Accident reconstruction, uh, uh, economic actuarials for computing damages. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So they have their booths up, and they're giving away what we call the swag, so that you remember their company and come back. And so as I'm walking through, and nobody's speaking to me, and then I'm walking by the booth to see what they're doing, and so I'm looking, and someone says, "So, what do you have here? What's going on here?" Ask them questions to engage them, and several of the people were like, "So, are you an attorney?" I mean, like, like everybody there is related to the law field, and who's going to walk in off the street and then start asking questions of a legal vendor? I mean, so it was just
Right.
mind-boggling that you would even ask me that question, which of course I continue to play my role. It's like, well, actually, I'm not, but I didn't tell them that I was a judge either. So I
Right.
said, well,
Okay.
no, I'm just curious. And so some of them would patronize me and give me, the most elementary explanation of what they were doing, which I was like, oh, okay. And then others would just say, hey, you want a pen? Would you like some candy? Without offering, to explain their services, or would you be interested to know what we did? So again, I filed that away. It's okay. This is I'm obviously someone that they don't want to take seriously. But I continue to walk back and forth, like from one end of the area to the other end, and some of the people that I had known for 20 years, I'd passed them several times. And again, I'm thinking, okay, when I come back through, they're going to see that this is Rupert. But it continued to have the I version, the I version. And then there was this one young lady, and I whenever I see her, I just give her a big hug. And her name was Roxanne Davis. She is a plaintiff's attorney. She's pretty successful and does a good job. And she's a um, short, blonde, white lady. As I'm coming through the area and I'm walking by, and she sees me, she just kind of looks at me, and then she has this kind of curious look on her face, and she says literally, "Hey, Rupert, why do you have that hood on your head?" And I just basically stopped. I almost broke down because I was
Wow.
so grateful that somebody saw me. She called me by my name and
Right.
asked why I had the hood. She actually saw what I was doing, asked why I had the hood on, and I just gave her a big eye. I said, "I'll tell you later, but you have no idea what this means to me that she spoke to me."
Hmm.
And she just
Wow.
started kind of weird,
Wow.
like
Yeah.
it was no big deal to her. But all these other people, they kept passing me. I left out another important fact. So, we have our credentials in terms of uh, name tags and stuff. I gave my I gave my name tag to another judge, and so he's basically impersonating me. So if anybody's walking up and they didn't know who I was, and they saw him with that badge, they would think he was me. But remember, and that's important too, because remember the night before, you know, I'm pretty much known by at least 75% of everybody there anyway. So by the time it's time for our presentation, and I've made this diary in my head, like, wow, two people out of these hundreds of people in this thing, only two people spoke to me. That's telling you something. And the one thing I did differently was I just put a hood on.
Hmm.
So we go in, and so my judge friend, he plays along with us. I said, so when they call us, I want you to go up there as me, okay? And I just want to see what happens. So he goes up there, right? And he sits down at the panelist table. And so they go through the introductions. And so they read my introduction, similar to what you just wrote, Loki. And he's up there, and I'm thinking somebody's going to say, "Hold on, that's not Judge Birdsong." Nobody says anything. Nobody seems to think anything is out of whack.
Wow.
Of course, this is a white person who's sitting up there as me, and again,
Jesus.
no, nobody said a word. Like, hold on, hold on. And so, after they made all the introductions, they said, "Okay, everybody, welcome to our panelists." So they started clapping. And mind you, I'm sitting in the back of the room, a little bit off to the side, and I still have the hoodie on, and I'm still sitting there. You can, if you look at me, if you actually took the time to actually look at me, you can see that it is me sitting there with a hood on. But nobody wants to sit. Nobody's sitting by me. Nobody's engaging me continually. And then, so after they said, "Okay, welcome to the panelists," I said, "Wait, stop!" So I shout from the back, said, "That's not Judge Birdsong. I'm Judge Birdsong." And then pulled the hood. I pulled the hood down, and you literally could hear the oh, the hush and oh through the whole room when they saw me come from the back and go up to the front.
Wow.
And you could see the look of like OMG. And
Mm-hmm.
and when I got up there, I said, "So I want y'all to realize that for the last hour and a half, I have been walking amongst you just like this, and only two people stopped to engage me to interact.
Wow.
What does that tell you, who are supposed to be representing people who don't get the benefit because of what they look like? What does that say about you in terms of your own biases?"
Mm-hmm.
And we continue to go through the program and talk about how you need to see people for who they are, and you can't give labels and whatnot. And several people, this was very, very powerful. Several people said, "I saw you out there walking around, but I didn't want to engage."
Mm.
Mm.
And I thought, wow. So I said, "Yeah, you saw me, but you actually didn't see me, because if you actually look, you would see that that's Rupert with a hood on, not some stranger who could possibly pose a threat to you if you bothered to look."
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about how we take these snapshots and then put people in these categories without any meaningful interaction, without even having any discussion whatsoever?
Well, and the element is that they saw your blackness.
Yes.
They saw a hood. They saw your blackness. My work has taken me to a lot of places, and I've been fortunate to meet some incredible people. But when I came to Selma and met Joanne Blackman Bland, I knew I was in the presence of greatness. Joanne was 11 years old when she was attacked on the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday in 1965. She wasn't old enough to vote, but understood its importance enough to be there. After Selma is an in-depth look at how our right to vote has eroded since the signing of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The fight for the right to vote continues. Get informed. You can find After Selma on Amazon Prime or visit LokiMulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection. If someone walked into a conference like this setting and was in a hoodie, that's going to make that, regardless of who you are and what color they are, you're going to be kind of like, okay, what's going on here? But the fact that they knew who you were, or at least had fawned over you the night before,
The night before.
that what they saw it was not your face but your race. They didn't see
Right.
you; they saw blackness.
Right.
This is part of Black Lives Matter.
I kept waiting on you to say, and that somebody called the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's just maybe me, but I swear to God, I just kept waiting on that. I swore that's what you were going to say.
Fortunately, that didn't happen. Fortunately.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's what my head went.
But you know what, Lamar, you just brought up a point that, again, that illustrates when we talk about privilege.
Mm.
So when I was assigned to the Chatsworth Courthouse in 2016. I was the first Black judge in the history of that court to have a courtroom and have an assignment. I was in collections and civil trials, unlimited jurisdiction. I had some big gnarly asbestos cases there, which I was grateful to get that experience. But I was the first one. I think the courthouse opened in 2002. And so 2016, I was the very first Black judge to sit in that courtroom. Do you realize that I thought it was important to meet all of the people at the security entrances to
Hmm.
affirmatively bring them some donuts and introduce myself so that I want to make sure we're not going to have any problems when you see me in this building. But the fact that that was a consideration for me and that I had to do these further acts to make sure that I don't get jacked around is telling of the culture that what black people know exists, which white people never crossed their mind. But even after that, gentlemen, even
Hmm.
after that,
Hmm.
I'd been there. I'd been there 6 months, and my niece was in town from DC, and I had finished my calendar, and I was giving her basically a tour of my building. So we're
Hmm.
walking around, and we're actually on my floor, and I'm telling her, well, okay, this is the jury room, and it's the cashier over here. And so we're walking down the hall, and then I hear this young voice behind me, this young Latina lady. She could have been she could have been 30 years old if I'm giving the best estimate. And she had a bunch of folders in her hand. And she was headed back to the file room or something. And she's like, excuse me, do you need some help with something? I kind
Mm.
of and I kind of like, what? Do you need some help? Do you know where you're going? I said, no, we're fine. Oh, okay, because you seem like you were lost, and I just want to make sure you knew where you were going. Now, mind you, I'm right outside my courtroom where my name is on the wall.
Hmm.
I didn't I didn't I didn't I didn't feel like I needed to uh, berate her and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, I am a judge in this building.
Yeah.
That's my name." I didn't need to do that. I just kind of just like, wow. And of course, my niece, she didn't know how to read that. Like, where did that come from? But lo and behold, as we then walking down and I'm showing her the where the people pay their fines and stuff, uh, there was another officer there, and she may have been new, whatever. But again, I'm in a suit now, suit tie, and I'm walking around with my niece, and I'm showing her the electronic kiosk where you can see your name and where your case is, and so I'm showing that to her. I'm not asking anybody any questions. I'm showing her that this is what we do. And so then this deputy, she said, so, do you know where you're going? You know where your case is? And of course, one of the brothers who was in security, he looked and his mouth just dropped and he shook his head like, oh man, I can't believe that this lady just did that to my judge. and
Oh,
I just look, and I looked at it, I just kind of smiled and like, uh, no, I know where I'm going.
I'm
And I
okay.
looked at,
Yeah.
look, then
Yeah. I'll
I
find it.
looked, o- I looked over at my friend, the brother security guard, and he said, "Man, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it." And I just laughed, like, "Wow." It's not like I asked for help. Not like I said, "Excuse me, I'm trying to buy this." These things were projected to me. Here's a
Right.
black guy walking around in this courthouse. You obviously are lost in the wrong place, or you
Right.
need to know where your case is.
It's you. Yeah, you out of place. You should have been in shackles at least, or in court. You shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Oh no,
And what year was this?
this was 2016.
Yeah. I mean,
2016.
and to think that, 21st century, 2016, and it's still an odd sight that this is not normal.
Right.
That to American society, a black judge, a black professional, still seems abstract, and that our instinctive response would be is he must be lost.
Right.
In my other life, I'm a filmmaker, and one of my more fascinating films I created is the award-winning film titled Black, White, and Us. It's about viewing racism through the lens of transracial adoptions in Utah. Utah? Yeah, Utah. It just so happens to be the transracial adoption capital of the world. So what happens when white families who didn't believe racism existed anymore adopts a black child? Find it on Amazon Prime or visit lokimulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection.
Let me tell you one more story on this line, which further demonstrates the problem, and it's the reason why it's even more pervasive because again we're talking interaction. So this is still at Chatsworth. we have monthly meetings. We try to have monthly meetings, and we're talking about stuff that belongs, to our agenda. And we meet in this conference room on the second floor, and this is a conference room that's only reserved for judges. So I'm in there with the other judges. And mind you, this courthouse is not very big. We have a total of about 10 judicial officers, and remember, I'm the only Black judge in the building.
All right.
So one of the commissioners who I had not had an opportunity to meet, I had stopped by to see her, and I had not met her yet. But I had been there about 3 or 4 months. So I got to meet her. Say, hey, how you doing? Oh, hi. I'm Judge Byrdsong. I'm in Department 41. Okay. Well, I'm downstairs. Nobody ever comes down to visit me. I'm in the traffic hub. Oh, it's okay. Well, nice to meet you. And so we have our meeting. Meeting lasts a little bit over an hour. And in fact, me and this commissioner sat next to each other. We actually shared the written agenda. She didn't have a copy, so I shared mine with her. So we're talking, and as we're going through the issues, like, oh yeah, blah 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 blah. And after the meeting, I said, well, it was great meeting you. I am gonna come by and visit you real soon. She said, oh, that'll be great because nobody ever comes to visit me. Well, thank you. Okay. So the day to visit her was actually the very next day. Finished my calendar a little early. I said, I'm gonna go by and visit this commissioner. So I'll go downstairs, and she's doing her calendar. She's doing a traffic arraignment calendar. There's not that many people in there, so she's almost finished. So I walk in. I just, sit down near the back. After I sit down, her bailiff, he comes walking over to me, white guy. He turned out, what was his name? His name was, his name was Angelo. Every time I see him, I give him a hard time. So look, he comes over and sees me. He says, excuse me, do you have a case here? And I just kind of chuckled and I said, no, I'm just here to observe. Again, I don't tell him I'm a judge. I mean, like, why do I have to go around just identifying myself to the people who are supposed to be there to protect me? So, he's supposed to know who I am, not the other way around. I said, no, I'm just here to observe. Again, I'm not raising any cane. I'm not making a statement. I'm here to observe, which was the truth. I said, okay. So he goes to sit back down. Now, to give a little more context, our bench officers, especially in an environment like that, we know who we are, and when we come by to visit, usually we introduce, our colleagues to whoever's in the room. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Judge Frazier. She's down the hall. Thanks for stopping by. Those are the common courtesies that we extend. Okay, but I didn't get that from her, and that was okay. And I figured, okay, when she finishes, then this guy will learn that I'm a judge. So she finishes up her calendar. Now everybody's out of the room except for her, the bailiff, and the clerk. And so then I proceed to get up, and I'm about to go through the gallery like we always do when we visit our colleagues. We just walk on up, walk on through, because that's what we do. It's not like you do anything. So as I approach and start to go through the gallery, she's like, excuse me, do you have a case here?
Oh no.
And I just kind of stopped in my track. I'm like, huh? Right? And she said, do you have a case here? I said, are you kidding me? I said, just like that, are you kidding me? And then she's like, and then with a little stank, no, I'm not. And I'm like, wow, right? Just like that. And then she kind of just rolls her eyes and says, you know what, you can talk to my clerk. And then she walked off the bench and goes back to her chambers. So now I'm standing there.
Wow.
This is the day before, right? The one I sat next to and talked to for over an hour. and told her I was coming. Now, mind you, when we had the meeting, I was in a suit. I didn't have my robe on, but I was in a suit. And so when I'm down in her courtroom now, I'm still in a suit. And so she walks off, and I'm like, wow. So the bailiff, he's looking at me like, well, what's the problem? What's going on? And again, I just stand there and I'm like, wow. Can you imagine me now? I'm just kind of just standing there and just looking in space, looking at what I just observed. I'm like, wow. So the clerk, she's getting a little frustrated, like, who is this black guy saying wow about my judge? And she said, well, what's the deal? Do you have to see the cashier? I mean, do you have a case in here? And then again, I just answer, wow. And now the bailiff, he's starting to look a little agitated now because I guess he thinks I'm about to start really escalating the situation.
Right.
And he said, so what's the problem? I mean, what do you need? Right? And then I just calmly reach into my pocket and I hand in my badge. So, we got, it's a real badge, all heavy and whatnot in a pretty black leather case, right? And my badge and my ID is also with the badge. So I just
Yeah.
handed it to him and he opened it up and he could see where it said, it says my name and it says, judge embroidered across the brass part. And then, of course, that wasn't enough because I saw him. He put up the other thing to see my ID, I guess, to check it out, make sure I don't have a Cracker Jack badge, right?
Maybe you stole it.
Right. So he looks at that, and then here's the killer, guys. So after that, he says, "You're a judge?" After I hand him my badge and ID, he's going to actually ask me, "So you're a judge?" And now I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm like, yes, I am. And I have a kind of a little smug look on my face, but I'm very, very calm. I'm watching them stew. And I said, yes, I am. Okay. Next dumb question. But you're not in this building, are you? I said, no, I'm up.
Wow.
I said, no, I'm upstairs in Department 41. And now he's sweating bullets. And now the clerk is like, oh, you can see it in her face, like, oh, snap. What in the world did we just do? So she jumps in and says, well, Your Honor, we have so much traffic down here. Sometimes, we just don't know who's who. I said, excuse me. I had a judge's meeting with her name is Weiss, Commissioner Weiss yesterday. She sat next to me in that meeting. We shared an agenda in that meeting. And I told her, after enjoying the time with her, that I would come to visit her real soon. So now they're like, oh, snap. I said, so she should know who her colleagues are.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're thinking like, wow, okay, we have basically no excuse for any of this. And I said, you know what? I think I need to go talk to her. What do you think? And the clerk was like, yes, I think so, Your Honor. Yes, yes. Now, she's in kiss butt mode. Like, oh yes, absolutely. Now, what was funny is when she goes back, she doesn't give the commissioner the heads up. Like, you do realize that was the judge that you just dismissed.
Yeah.
And mind, there's a pecking order. The commissioners basically are actually subordinate officers to us. We actually elect and choose them. So although they do things, although they do some of the things that we do, they don't do the same amount of things. But so the clerk, she doesn't go back and say, you just dissed this judge to give her heads up. She just brings me right on back, right? So,
Oh my God.
so then she says, okay, she's like, hey, go have at it. So she directs me to the room and she's sitting in chambers. And so I step inside the door and I'm just looking at her. And then she gives me this look like, what in the heck are you doing back here? That's the look. She didn't say anything, but she's just looking like, And then so I kind of cross my arms and just give her this look like, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I don't say anything. I stand there patiently. And then 15 seconds later,
Oh gosh.
it's like the reaction was, oh. Yeah, you hear this loud sigh, and she just drops her head, realizing, oh gosh. And then she motions me to come on inside to sit down. And she's like, ah. She didn't even know how to say or what to say. She's like, you know what? I don't, gosh. I said, do I have a case? Really? Did I need to see the cashier? Really? Give her a little hard time. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's just one of those days. I'm so sorry. I said, you really should know who your colleagues are. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, I'm just so embarrassed. Oh gosh. And then I sat down and I crossed my legs. I said, so hey, how you doing? As if nothing happened, right? And so that put her on guard. And then we proceeded to talk for the next 40 minutes, about her practice before she got on the bench, and, her family, her travels, and my family and travels. And I said, you know what? We probably should have lunch one of these days. But, the next time I come down here, I hope you'll remember this experience. And she said, oh gosh, I will. But again, gentlemen, see, here is someone who's on the bench, who wears the robe,
Mm-hmm.
and she could not see a colleague of hers who also wears the robe, who's not in the robe, and just sees me as you said, just saw my blackness, but not me as a judicial officer.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Right.
I was like, wow. If y'all could have seen me when I was saying like, wow. Did this really happen? I'm almost thinking, and remember, I said, "Are you kidding me?" I thought she was like, joking me, like, ha ha ha. Oh no, come on, this is Judge Byrdsong, everybody. I thought that's what was going to happen. No, she was like, "No, I'm not kidding. You can talk to my clerk," and walked off.
Dang.
Oh yeah, it was rich.
An Ordinary Hero was my first award-winning documentary. It's about the life of my mother, Joan Trumpauer Mulholland, and her participation in the civil rights movement. For most of us, our mothers are heroes because they're mothers, and mom is just mom. But when your mother's a civil rights icon, and yet you never really knew it, things change. Go check out An Ordinary Hero and find out how choosing to do what was right instead of what was easy helped change the world. You can find it on Amazon Prime, or visit LokiMulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection.
All right. So to avoid this in the future, I think you just need to send us a picture so I know who you are.
We're real everywhere.
Oh God.
Oh my
Man.
goodness. I got other stories, but I don't want
Yeah.
to overwhelm y'all with them. It's just amazing.
Yeah, go take. You need to go take care of the little one.
Yeah, she's getting
Yeah.
restless back there now. But
Yeah, I'm gonna make her some pancakes.
all
But
right.
I appreciate this conversation, having a chance to talk about these issues which are important, which we need to continue to to take some action, to make some change.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think of that, liberty and justice for all. We truly need to apply that to all.
Right? Absolutely.
The system truly needs to be for everyone, and clearly, we have a ways to go. When even those who are administering that justice aren't even given their just due. So
Yeah,
Well,
that's
well,
that's telling.
they are reflective of what they're told,
mhm.
and they are reflective of the world they live in. And they remember we all come from the same place. So Judge Birdsong was out of character because it can only be recognized with his robes on and in that room.
Yes.
Now I know who he is because I know the place.
If everyone
What
else affirms that in respects of, he's in his robes, he's sitting at the proper seat.
and they haven't said anything, so he
If
must
the
be all
bailiff and
right.
everyone else is going, okay, yeah, we recognize and respect the judge, then everyone else can go, okay, well, I guess this is legit. But even still, you're still going to have those attorneys and so forth who are going to kind of go, okay, wait a second.
That I'm sorry. I got one more story on that point then, because
All right.
look, so I go to a lot of these conferences as I described, and
Hmm.
it's important for us to go because when the bench and the bar can interact informally, we get a chance to exchange stories and to just build up a camaraderie.
They're breaking down the barriers and such. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So when we go, they make a big deal when the judges are there. They invite us and they want us to be in the audience. So they usually will have, when they invite the lawyers and the different bar associations, will invite the judges to come for free because they want us to be mixed amongst their members.
Hmm.
So, and then when we come, they'll give us, the nice uh, name tag, and normally we'll have, they'll have honorable, or they'll have like a special ribbon that they'll attach at the bottom, with nice gold that says, judge, and so we could be recognized through that name tag. So I'm at one of these events downtown, again, my stomping grounds, and this young man, he walks along and says, "Hey, how you doing?" Badge right there says Rupert Byrdsong, judge, and he says, "So, well, what kind of practice do you have?" Now, meaning like thought I was a lawyer, and I said, "Well, I don't practice law." And he's like, "What? No, come on. What kind of practice do you have?" And then so I just kind of looked down at my badge, right, so he could see it, and I said, "Well, uh, you see that?" And he says, "Yeah, okay. So what kind of practice do you have?" And so now I'm looking at him like, okay. And so then I'm very emphatic. I said, "Can you read this?" And he says, "Yeah." Just kind of nodding like, okay, yeah. And he's still waiting for me to talk to him. And then again, a slight delay in the make connecting the dots. And then it's like he kind of stepped back, like, "Oh, Your Honor." oh, oh, Your Honor. Says judge, but it's like, "Oh, Your Honor." And now I'm looking at him. I got this little grin on my face. And so I said, I get it. I don't look like the regular demographic of a judge, right? So, "Oh no, Your Honor, that's not it." "No, I get it. I'm not a bald and old white guy, so I couldn't possibly be a judge." He said, "Well, no, I don't know. That's not what." I said, "Listen, it's okay. This has happened quite a bit, but you probably should be a little more open minded as to what a judge looks like."
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of slept away with his head down, like, "Oh God, I can't believe I did this." But there it was in his face, gentlemen. It said judge, and I pointed to him. It still did not register to him that this black guy who's standing in front of him could be in a position of a judge.
Mm.
No way. So
Because all judges should be white,
yeah,
slightly balding hair.
it's deep, man. It's deep. It's deep. Like, wow. I mean, do I actually have to put the robe on and walk around with it for them to actually see that? Well, even then you'll get, maybe as a choir director or
Yeah.
Exactly. But this guy's trying to steal a robe.
He's offering the benediction here or something.
Oh
exactly.
God.
Exactly. And that's real, gentlemen. That's real.
Want a great way to help a worthy organization and educate children about the civil rights movement? Visit our foundation, the Joan Trumpauer Mulholland Foundation, at thejtmfoundation.org. That's thejtmfoundation.org. We are a 501c3 established to help end racism through education. A $5 monthly recurring donation will provide curriculum for 30 students. As my mother used to say, I can't do everything, but I can do something, because doing nothing is not an option. If you have wanted to help in this cause, but didn't know how, now you can. The Joan Trumpauer Mulholland Foundation at thejtmfoundation.org. Vaughn, I'm glad you guys could finally connect. If you you might want to lock in his number later. Just
this was most enjoyable.
Yeah, in case you ever need any help,
Oh, we'll
Well,
hook that
It's
up.
always good to have a judge in your back pocket.
I used to carry Cochran number, but I don't. He's dead now, so I do need somebody to replace it.
Right. There you go.
I have to tell you this. So when I was in business, I was at a level where I ended up talking to partners a lot. So I'm talking to these partners one day.
It's the accounting firm you're with?
Yeah, Coopers and Lybrand. So there was a point at which OJ was being tried for murder, and so the partners were talking to each other. They were from Texas, Oklahoma, places like that. So they started talking, and I said, "Well, the only thing I know is I'm going to carry Johnny Cochran's number in my wallet from now on." Not another word was said about the case.
Wow.
I mean, not a one.
Wow.
Because they didn't. The case was forgotten. Went on to talk about something else.
Oh yeah.
To me it was funny,
Yeah.
but to them,
Oof.
yeah, whether he did it or not, and how dare me want Johnny Cochran? Well, I'm thinking that's a hell of a lawyer that pulled this shit off, but that's not the way they were thinking. so,
Yeah.
so tell me where I. Anyway,
Lamar knows how to shut down a conversation, huh?
oh, I did. I mean, it was. Anyway,
Yeah, man.
so Judge Byrdsong, I will be carrying your card, whether you know it or not. And
Awesome.
when shit comes up, I'll just say, "Well, Judge Byrdsong will look into this."
All right, yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
appreciate it.
Thanks
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
All right, good meeting you.
Likewise, everybody be safe, please.
Thank you again for listening. Make sure you head to my Patreon page at patreon.com/Loki Mulholland. Show a little love if you can, and get access to even more content. Until next time, don't be afraid to get uncomfortable.